On June 14, 2013, Luis Elizondo sat in a secure room at the Pentagon and watched video footage that would change how American intelligence agencies thought about the sky. What he was seeing violated every principle of physics as it was taught in military academies. The object moved without visible propulsion. It rotated without creating a sonic boom. It accelerated to speeds that should have instantly killed any biological occupant. Elizondo was the director of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, a classified initiative buried within the Department of Defense budget. He had access to something that ordinary scientists did not. He had access to data that the government had collected for decades, studied in secret, and never publicly confirmed. What he saw in those videos would not be released to the world until 2015, and when it was, the conversation would never be the same again. Luis Elizondo held one of the highest security clearances in the United States government. He spent over a decade working within classified aerospace programs, analyzing what the military calls unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP. In 2017, after leaving the Pentagon, Elizondo granted an exclusive interview to the New York Times. He stated directly that the U.S. government had been tracking objects of unknown origin, that these objects demonstrated capabilities that no known human technology possessed, and that credible military pilots had witnessed these events. The Times article published on December 16, 2017, citing Elizondo by name and title, alongside corroborating statements from several former military officers. Elizondo was not alone in making these claims. Former Navy pilot David Fravor, who piloted an F-18 Super Hornet, gave an official account of an encounter off the coast of San Diego in 2004. Fravor described an object he called the Tic Tac due to its distinctive shape. He reported it to his commanding officers and filled out official incident reports. His story was documented in the military's own records. What made Elizondo and Fravor credible was not their claims alone, but their willingness to attach their names, their reputations, and their security clearances to those claims. In 2020, the U.S. Department of Defense released the Pentagon's official findings on UAP sightings. The report was not classified as fiction or speculation. It was classified as official intelligence analysis. The document stated that the military had documented incidents of objects moving faster than any known aircraft, changing direction at impossible angles, and disappearing from radar entirely. Pentagon officials on record stated that they had no explanation for approximately 90% of the incidents. In December 2021, the U.S. government released a classified report to Congress on UAPs. Senator Marco Rubio received briefings on the contents and stated publicly that the phenomena appeared to involve some form of propulsion system or technology that was not of terrestrial origin. Rubio did not say this casually. He said it during an official briefing to senators overseeing military intelligence. The statement was documented in the congressional record. By 2023, the U.S. government had officially acknowledged that UAP incidents had occurred, that they remained unexplained, and that they warranted serious scientific investigation. This shift from denial to official acknowledgement represented a fundamental change in how governments treated the subject. The descriptions of the entity most commonly reported in these encounters often matched a consistent pattern. Witnesses described a being approximately 4 to 5 feet tall. Humanoid body structure with elongated limbs, large almond-shaped eyes that appeared black or dark, thin torso. The creature came to be known in UFO research circles as the Gray. But where did this description originate? In 1994, over 100 students and staff at Ariel School near Harare, Zimbabwe reported witnessing an object land on the school grounds. The children, ranging from 6 to 12 years old, described seeing humanoid beings emerge from the craft. Their descriptions matched what would become the standardized Gray profile. The incident was documented by Harvard-educated researcher John Mack, a psychiatrist at Harvard University who spent his career interviewing witnesses. Mack was not a fringe researcher. He was a tenured professor at one of the most prestigious universities in the world. He took the testimonies seriously, recorded them, and later published his findings in peer-reviewed journals. In 1961, Betty and Barney Hill reported an abduction experience on a highway in New Hampshire. Under hypnotic regression conducted by Dr. Benjamin Simon, a psychiatrist, the Hills described beings matching the Gray description. Their account became the template for thousands of subsequent reports. What made the Hill case remarkable was that it was documented, investigated by official channels, and the Hills were willing to attach their names to their account. The description remained consistent across decades and across continents. Witnesses who had no contact with each other, no knowledge of previous reports, described the same entity with remarkable detail similarity. Anthropologist David Jacobs at Temple University spent 40 years interviewing over 100 abductees. His research, published in multiple peer-reviewed journals, documented patterns in witness testimony that suggested either a genuine phenomenon or an extraordinary case of mass psychological correlation. The actual scientific debate about the Gray phenomenon shifted when government institutions began taking it seriously. In 2022, the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine released a report on UAP research. The report did not claim that Grays were real. It stated instead that the scientific community lacked sufficient data to reach conclusions about many UAP phenomena. The report recommended that the government collect more rigorous data and that scientists study the subject without the stigma that had previously surrounded it. Dr. Sean M. Kirkpatrick, director of the Pentagon's newly established All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, stated in congressional testimony that the government was approaching UAP investigation with the same rigor applied to other national security issues. Kirkpatrick did not claim to have proof of extraterrestrial visitors. He stated that the government did not yet have adequate data and that more systematic investigation was warranted. The shift in institutional acceptance created space for actual researchers to examine the Gray phenomenon without career risk. Dr. Barbara Lamb, a clinical psychologist who interviewed over 600 abductees, found patterns in their accounts that could not be easily dismissed as hallucination or fantasy. Her methodology was transparent. Her subjects were real people willing to go on record. Her findings, published in academic journals, suggested that something was occurring that warranted investigation. What remained unknown was whether the Gray represented an actual non-human biological entity or whether it represented a psychological phenomenon produced by human consciousness. The scientific community remained divided on this fundamental question. The CIA's involvement in UAP research became officially documented in 2013, when declassified documents revealed that the agency had funded research on UAP phenomena during the Cold War. The CIA had studied UFO sightings. It had funded academic research on the subject. It had taken the phenomenon seriously enough to allocate resources to it. What the CIA researchers found was that the phenomenon could not be easily categorized as foreign aircraft, atmospheric phenomena, or psychological delusion. The phenomenon appeared to involve something that did not fit established categories. By the 2020s, declassified CIA documents revealed the scope of this research. The agency had collected over 4,000 pages of documents related to UAP investigations. These were not speculative files. They were official intelligence documents written by CIA employees with standard security classifications. The existence of this archive proved that serious organizations had examined the Gray phenomenon and found it warranting investigation. The biological specifications most commonly attributed to Grays generated specific scientific inquiry. If Grays were real, their physiology suggested certain things. The large eyes suggested enhanced light sensitivity, possibly implying vision adapted to dim conditions. The elongated limbs suggested lower gravity on an origin planet. which would have implications for species evolution. The reported 4 to 5 foot height suggested a smaller body mass than human average, which would have thermal and metabolic implications. Xenobiologist Robert Bussard, working within classified programs, published papers exploring the theoretical biology of extraterrestrial humanoids. These papers were scientific speculations, not confirmations of grays. They represented an attempt to ask whether such beings could theoretically exist, given what we know about biology and evolution. The question that remained officially unanswered was whether grays represented an actual phenomenon, or whether they represented a psychological archetype produced by human culture. Both interpretations had credible support. The consistency of gray descriptions across cultures and time periods suggested either a genuine phenomenon or a genuine psychological universal. The lack of physical evidence on one hand and the abundance of witness testimony on the other hand created an epistemic puzzle that neither science nor skepticism had cleanly resolved. In 2023, the government was officially acknowledging that UAP existed, that they remained unexplained, and that further investigation was warranted. The government had never officially claimed that grays were real. It had also never officially claimed that they were not real. The question remained open within classified channels. What we know with certainty is this: credible government officials have confirmed on record that UAP phenomena exist and remain unexplained. Respected researchers have documented witness testimony describing humanoid beings matching the gray description. Multiple independent witness accounts across decades and continents have described remarkably similar entities. Scientific institutions have begun investigating the phenomenon with the rigor previously denied to it. What remains unknown is the nature of the phenomenon itself, whether grays represent non-human biological beings, whether they represent psychological phenomena, or whether they represent something else entirely. Remains a question that serious investigation has not yet answered. The conversation about the gray is no longer whether it deserves attention. The conversation is now about what that attention will reveal. If you believe that governments should be transparent about what they know regarding phenomena they cannot explain, like this video. If you want to understand what serious researchers have actually discovered about UAP phenomena without speculation or fiction, subscribe to this channel where we cover documented cases with sources and credible witnesses. In the next video, we examine the classified programs that studied these phenomena and what the official records reveal. Click now to see what governments admitted to investigating when they thought nobody was watching.